Hello, everyone, and thanks for taking the time with us today. In this demo, we're about to showcase three strengths of the UiPath platform. The first is overall ease of use with preloaded drag and drop components. The second is speed of implementation, where we'll actually build out two different workflows in a very short amount of time. And the third is the seamless integration with artificial intelligence, like natural language processing, into an existing UiPath workflow. We're going to focus on how all three of these features can be applied to some of the most manual and repetitive tasks being performed in a banking or financial services environment today. For context, we'll be building our automation around the types of activities typically undertaken by a commercial loan underwriting team. Now, these teams deal with a high volume of loan applications on a daily basis, each requiring them to repeatedly gather information from multiple sources and then enter that info into various downstream systems. These manual processes can lead to significant increases in loan decisioning times and can have a negative impact on the ability for those teams to close more loans and drive more revenue. So in the first portion of this demo, we'll show you how we can improve upon some of these processes, specifically the extraction of customer information from a third-party website. We'll show you how we can easily build a workflow in UiPath to quickly grab information like the company name and address, and then enter this information into our underwriting system. Then in the second portion of our demo, we'll show you how we can integrate with natural language processing technology to solve a more complex scenario, the extraction of financial data from unstructured documents like balance sheets. I'll now turn it over to Adam to take us through the first portion of our demo.
Okay, so first, I'm going to open up by showing you what this manual process looks like. Well, the user will have to go to two different websites. One, to go look up a company's information. Two, they're going to have to go to an internal website to deliver this information into their system. So now, myself, a very skilled employee, will be just doing some manual, tedious copying and pasting to enter the company name, address, and other information. This is not a highly valuable use of my time or skill, and if there's any kind of load behind this type of work, let's say I had to do this for 50 to 100 companies, this is a really substantial part of my day being eaten up. And here, we've more or less done the process. I've captured most of the company's information. I can submit the application, and now we're done. Now this process didn't take a terribly long time, maybe a couple minutes out of my day, but as I said, over a substantial number of companies, then this is a very expensive process for a very highly valuable and skilled employee. Now let's look at how we'll use UiPath to automate it. This process will be automated using our standard RPA libraries. This is a very consistent and rule-based process. So I know on my left here, I have all the activities, all the different things that I can do with the robot. There's two different general ways that we view this. One are actions that mimic a human behavior, like for example, typing into the keyboard or opening up an application. The other types will be more programmatic or machine level, like connecting to a database and running SQL queries, or even API calls across different applications. Now I know that I'm going to have to interact with two different browsers, two different websites. So I'm going to grab two open browser activities and populate them into this workflow. Here's a great example of one of the greatest strengths of our platform that makes it easy to use and very fast to develop. Rather than having to understand all the different lines of code, I can simply drag and drop these functionalities into a workflow designer. And also, we won't end up with a very long wall of code to have to read through. But our platform can actually generate workflows that map to the actual process. In this case, once we start the process, we're going to open up a browser to get the company information. And then we know that the second browser will be used to enter the company information. And here we have an actual workflow of the process. Now, let's actually build it out. I have some notes here with the URLs that I'm going to need. The first part of the process will be to get the company information. So we're going to open up a browser, we'll use Chrome, and we're going to capture that information on the screen. This is called data scraping. We have many different ways to do it, but we're going to use a get text activity. And we know we're capturing 4 different data points, so I'm going to create 4 of them. And to keep things very easy to read and understand, I'm going to name everything with what we're trying to do, which is going to be to get the name address, status, and the nature of business of the company. Now, when I hit this blue link here, indicate element inside browser, it's going to bring us to a scope where now the robot is going to show me all the different UI elements on the screen. These blue boxes correspond to a bridge that we've created between how humans see and understand the UI elements, the different buttons and fields, and how the computer understands it using what we call selectors or tags. So now I can point and click at this company name, and the robot's going to understand what that field is and create a selector to map to it, and using the same underlying tags that the website has. And now we can save that. Here is name. Now we're going to do the same thing with address and with the other fields. I can simply point and click, capture that field for status, and then lastly for nature of business, including we have a handy delay so I can manipulate the screen. Here we go, nature of business. Now this shows a great example of simply dragging and dropping activities and the point and click nature of telling the robot what elements to interact with. And we've already created the workflow to scrape that information. Now lastly, I'm going to send a hotkey to close this tab when we're done. Control and W. Okay, so that's the first part. Now let's enter this data into our other website. I'll move over here, grab the other URL that we're going to need, and enter it there. Now, rather than a get text, we're going to use a type into activity. This will simulate a human typing data into a keyboard. And in the same way, let's name everything so that it's easy to read and understand later on. Name, address, status, and nature of business. Now, we captured the name, address, status, and nature of business earlier, so I'm just going to use those same fields to enter the data in here. And now, once again, we'll do this indicate element, and we'll just show the robot where we want it to type these information into. The company name, address, status, oops, I clicked the wrong button, easy to fix. We'll do the indicate on again, enter into the company status field, and nature of business. And now we're done. So in just a few moments, we scraped data and entered it into the website. Let's give this a run to test it out. So I'll close the tabs and hit run. Now I'm hands off. This is the robot taking control. The robot starts up, opens up the browser quickly, so we'll scrape that information, open up the next browser, and then enter in that information. Now here, it's actually simulating me typing it in using the keyboard driver. And you can also see there that there was a little bit of extra white space that we captured. Now these are easy things for us to fix and improve. And also, I decided to use Internet Explorer for that second part. So let's make a couple adjustments to improve this process. First, let's make them both use Chrome. And now, at each point in the process, we have access to that data and we can do different functions to it. For example, in this case, I'm going to clean the data with a trim function, which will clear up any extra white space off the beginning and end of that value. We could also perform any kind of business logic or validation if we wanted to here. Now lastly, let's use simulate type. This is a very powerful tool that can let us interact with applications without actually taking over the mouse and keyboard driver so that it won't have a conflict if I'm doing things on the screen as well. And then lastly, let's do a click to actually submit the application and finish this process. So we'll indicate the element. Let's open up that browser again so I can show the robot what I want it to do. Oops. Now let's indicate on screen and just show it the submit application button. And lastly, let's name it. Great. Simulate click. So now we've created our scrape and to enter all that information. Let's give it one more run to test our finished automation. So once again, we'll open up the website. It'll do that scrape. It takes only a couple moments. And then it opens up the second site, now in Chrome, and enters all that information in. Now that might have gone very fast. You can see here, we went to the thank you screen, and I'll go backwards, and you can see that we captured that information, and we even cleaned the empty white space off of it. Okay. Now that will wrap up our first pass of this automation, doing our standard RPA to automate tedious and monotonous processes and to free up that user's time to do more valuable work.
So in the second part of this demo, we're going to show you how we can seamlessly integrate some artificial intelligence, like natural language processing, within our already existing UiPath workflow to tackle a more complex task typically performed by those loan underwriting teams, and that's the process of financial spreading. Financial spreading, as many of you already know, is the extraction of financial data from financial statements like balance sheets, and then entry of that info into an underwriting system to be used in a credit risk analysis, obviously a highly crucial step within the loan application process. The real challenge here lies in the nature of these balance sheets. They're highly unstructured documents with potential to vary greatly in format, hierarchy, and nomenclature from company to company. So rarely is there any discernible pattern in those documents, making it quite difficult to perform data extraction to be included within an automation. By integrating a pre-trained NLP model within our existing UiPath workflow, we're able to make sense of this unstructured content and to turn it into a structured format, which we can then extract and feed into our automated workflow, creating a more robust end-to-end solution for our loan underwriting teams. So now, with that, I'll turn it back over to Adam to show you how we can accomplish this.
Thanks, Bill. Let's clear this up. Okay. So now we still have the bones of our last automation. What we want to do is to improve it by adding some cognitive or AI-empowered activities. So what we can do is we can view what we've already built as the arms and legs of the process. The robot that can actually interact with the applications and the data. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of brain power. What these engines will do is they'll help make decisions on what to do with this different information. So we have many different ways of integrating with cognitive or AI-powered applications or technology partners. For this process, we're going to use Evolution AI. We have a series of activities with them, including one that we built to capture financial spreading data. What this will do is we're going to use a balance sheet from the same company here, and we're going to send that balance sheet to Evolution AI through an API call. This information here, using our authorization token, our account, and then I'm going to make sure we're using the correct file right here. So with the same as the rest of our activities, we can drag and drop, place it into the workflow. I'm going to configure the properties, so it's using the correct file. And then when it'll return, we can expect all this different information from the financial spreading. I'll even show you, this is the file that we're sending their way. This is something that the robot cannot easily capture structured information from. And what we've done with them is built out a way for them to use machine learning and natural language processing to correctly and accurately capture information from this, even though these documents are very difficult for us to process automatically normally. So Now I'm only really interested in the current assets that are being returned and the liabilities. So now I've captured that information, and we can continue with the last part of entering those other pieces of information into the process. So if we go back to our webpage, we've already shown it how to capture and enter the company name, address, status, and nature of business. Now that we've used Evolution's AI to read their balance sheet and to capture the current assets and liabilities, we just have to show the robot how to enter that, which is the same that we did before. We'll type into, we're going to make another type into, one for current assets, and another for liabilities. And since we have that information captured from the Evolution AI call, we can simply reference it here. Now I'll tell the robot where I wanted to enter assets and where we wanted to enter liabilities. And now we're done. Let's also use simulate type. And we'll trim this just to make sure that it's got the same cleaning and formatting that we used before. Now, we've simply added to our previous automation by getting a little bit of brain power in the middle. So once we've scraped this website, it'll reach out to Evolution AI with the balance sheet associated with that company, and then we'll have all the information we want to enter this into our internal system. Now let's hit run. I'm hands off, the robot's going to take control. It'll open up the web page, scrape the data, same as before. Once it's done scraping the data and closes the tab, it's now going to send an API call to Evolution AI, send the balance sheet, and let it process. Now, it's already done it. So now we've captured that information, and you can see it very quickly entered that information into the application here. I'll even go back again so that we can go back and verify. So our same process worked before with the same accuracy and precision that it will every time, because it's an automatic robot doing the process. And we've also been able to capture complicated information from that balance sheet through Evolution AI and our integration with any kind of AI-powered functionality. So this wraps up how simple and easy it is to drag and drop our activities, point and click to tell the robot how to interact with the desktop or the applications. And we can even integrate with other different AI-powered technologies and bring those into your process. Thank you and have a great day.